We're being joined by Carle from Boston. Mr. Carle is a former national intelligence officer from the CIA and national security and foreign policy expert. Sir, thank you so much for joining us on WION.
Thank you.
So, in light of the shocking incident at the Gaza Hospital, we've seen visuals of human suffering. The blame game seems to have begun. The IDF is denying any role in this. What's your assessment?
Well, it would be a catastrophe. It is a catastrophe for Israel and for the IDF to do anything like this. So there's no reason that they would do that intentionally. I also think that their record of admitting grudgingly, but admitting and stating accurate information is quite consistent. So I think it's inconceivable that Israel did it intentionally. It is conceivable that it was an error, but since there are videos and the strong statement that by Israel that they didn't do it, I think that that is in fact probably the case. I think it's possible that, as Israel said, it was an errant missile or missiles from either the Islamic Jihad or Hamas, but we don't know that. Whatever the origin of the missiles, it's a catastrophe for the victims, for Israel, and obviously has inflamed all of the Muslim world.
Absolutely, and we've seen reactions and condemnation pour in from across the globe. We're going to perhaps see a shift here, that Israel may be on the back foot after the Gaza Hospital massacre. Do you think that's true?
Well, I think the prospect of an Israeli invasion of Gaza has, from the very beginning, been an extremely dangerous prospect for Israel because Hamas is not all 2.5 million Palestinians in the Gaza Strip are not members of Hamas. And obviously we've seen that 1 million of them are now refugees, have been forced from their homes, are enduring tremendous hardship. And none of this helps Israel at all, really. They have, Israel, an almost impossible task if their objective is to root out and destroy Hamas in Gaza. The military can't address, ideally, what is in part a political and social issue.
Also, U.S. President Joe Biden's fraught trip to West Asia, it was already a very high-stakes visit. What are his options now? Would you say that a peace deal is now out of question?
Well, I would have been flabbergasted, although thrilled, if a peace deal were to come from President Biden's trip. I haven't thought that that is very likely at all. In the absence of, I'm not in the White House now, but it seems clear to me that President Biden's objective is to keep the crisis from spinning out of control and becoming a regional war. To dissuade Hezbollah and Iran from encouraging Hezbollah to widen the war, to try to temper the Israelis' intended actions in Gaza, and perhaps to bring Arab Muslim states more actively involved in finding some way to stop a regional war from occurring, help the Palestinians, and dissuade Hamas from acting further. But those are all tall orders. But the very fact of his going, I think, is dissuasive to a certain extent, at least, towards Iran and Hamas as our two aircraft carriers by the United States in the Eastern Mediterranean. And I think that is the primary objective. The others would be wonderful, but are progressively unlikely given the disaster with the hospital.
All right. Well, Mr. Carle, thank you so much for joining us on WION with your expertise and your perspective on this.
Anytime.